notice, and this is the typical copyright. We continue with mathematics syllabus for CSEC. Normally, the syllabus runs for 10 years, and this one began in 2018, so it should finish by 2027. However, as of December 2025, this syllabus has not been revised, but there are plans to change the structure of the exam from 2028 and onwards, with a few pilot projects now being conducted in a few Caribbean countries. The syllabus remains the same. Two main planned changes for the CSEC level math exam are: one, to split the exam into two parts. So it will be Math Part 1 or Part A and Math Part 2. And then secondly, that for the structured questions in Paper 2, all sections will be tested. There will no longer be any alternative questions from various sections. All questions will be required. So those are the two planned changes. By now you already know that sections 1, 2, and 3 have all been completed and published in their entirety on YouTube. Please make good use of them. Section 4, measurement, 17 videos. 5 of those have been published on YouTube in their entirety. Section 5, statistics, 18 videos. 8 have been published on YouTube in their entirety. Section 6, algebra, 22 videos. 7 have been published in their entirety on YouTube. Now, it took a lot of time to set up the online school, so the need arises to reschedule the last 3 parts that you see down here. So section 7, relations, functions, and graphs, that is what I'm working on now. This is the second of 26 videos, and hopefully by February 2026, that is the end of this month, this should be completed. And then next month, geometry and trigonometry, March 2026. And finally, section 9, vectors and matrices, April, May 2026. Disclaimer down here, this schedule is just a projection and is not to be taken as a contract with anybody. So section 1, by now you know that all 33 of those videos have been published in their entirety on YouTube, especially since this section forms the foundation on which the rest of the syllabus is based. So you need to know this section very good. Reminder also that you need to know the times tables, that is from 2 to 12. Especially that calculators are not allowed in paper 1. Section 2, all 12 of these videos have been published in their entirety on YouTube. Section 3, all 6 of these videos on sets have been published on YouTube in their entirety. Section 4, measurement. Now, these indicated in yellow here have been published on YouTube in their entirety. The others are only partially published on YouTube. So, if you need to see the rest of these videos that are only partially published on YouTube, please see directions in the description below. Section 5, statistics. These indicated in yellow here have all been published on YouTube in their entirety. The others are only partially published. Again, please see directions in the description below if you want to access the full videos. Section 6, algebra. These that are indicated in yellow here have been published in their entirety on YouTube. The others are only partially published on YouTube. If you need access to the full videos, Please see directions in the description below. We are now at section 7, Relations, Functions, and Graphs. As you could see, we have 26 objectives and 26 videos to cover in this section. Before we go on, recall I said in the introductory video that you will need a good math textbook or maybe a set of 2 to get especially more practice questions. CSEC recommends the following shown at right, these here. From these, please pay close attention to these last 2 down here, especially since they form a very good 2-volume set of math textbooks that is quite adequate for the current CSEC math exam and even the revised exams planned subsequently to 2027. This is a picture of Volume 1, Mathematics, a Complete Course with CXC Questions by Raymond Tusi. And this is a picture of Volume 2. Disclaimer down here. Please note I get no financial or other benefits from the sale of these books. As of late 2024, a website with AI interactivity has been made available free of cost that deals with past CSEC math questions only. You can navigate by topics or years where all questions for the past several years have been worked out for you. If you still have a question that you need explained, you can ask the AI assistant either by text or voice, and most likely that will be explained for you. It is extremely important that you become familiar with how CSEC sets its questions for paper 2 and what will be considered good or correct answers to such questions. This is the URL for that website. RSC homepage will be shown on the next slide. So this is the homepage for RSC. You have to register first and then subsequently sign in, but that is familiar to you by now. This again is the URL. That URL will be included in the description below in this video so that you could easily click on it and be redirected to this website. This is just a reminder that the formula sheet is provided for CSEC math examination papers. This formula sheet you see here on the left, that's a complete sheet. There will be a link in the description below from where this formula sheet can be downloaded. This is the top part of that formula sheet. Please note, you do not need to memorize these formulae on this formula sheet, as this sheet will be provided during the examination. And this is the below part of that same formula sheet, a closer view. And while you do not need to memorize these formulae, you do need to know when and how to use them. So we are here, section 7. This is a print screen from the syllabus. We are here at objective 2. And then this is the continuing with the print screen of this section. Continuing in that trend, this is up to objective 13. Print screen again, as it appears in your syllabus. This is up to objective 17, up to objective 20, then 22, and finally up to objective 26, which brings us to the end of section 7, Relations, Functions, and Graphs. So we have a far way to go. We are just at objective 2 right now in this video. 26 videos. We completed objective 1 in video 1, and that is published in its entirety on YouTube. We are now at objective 2. When this is finished, it will only be partially published on YouTube. So objective 2, this is what it says. Represent a relation in various ways. And there are some explanatory notes here, which gives us the 4 ways that CSEC would like you to be able to represent a relation. Set of ordered pairs, arrow diagrams, graphically, and algebraically. Now, you know most of this already. So it's basically like a consolidation lesson. So what is a relation? In its simplest term, a relation is defined as a set of ordered pairs that obeys a particular rule. As I pointed out in the last video, do not become confused with relation and function. A function is a subset of a relation. If in this ellipse here you have all relations, then functions will be a subset within that. So let's begin with these. We will begin with arrow diagrams first, and then we will look at ordered pairs. But we have seen this before. In the last video, we looked at example 1a, so we will consider this as example 1a. If you have a domain like that, with these elements, and a codomain like that with these other elements, you can use arrow diagrams like that to represent a relation. As I said, we have looked at this before, so I'm moving very fast. As you can clearly see, elements from domain Q are mapped onto elements of the codomain N by the use of arrows. Hence, these are called arrow diagrams. Example 2a. We looked at this also, where you have a domain here, you have a codomain here. We can use arrows to map elements from the domain to the codomain, like -5 to -9, -4 to -7, and so on. We get down here 4 to 9, and finally 5 to 11. But remember, the codomain would have some elements that are not actually mapped onto the domain. As you can clearly see, the elements from the domain are mapped onto elements from the codomain by the use of arrows. Hence, these are called arrow diagrams. Now, you may be wondering why these elements from the codomain, why these -9, -7, -5, and so on. I think you already know that, because we are looking at this relation here. Y is equal to 2x plus 1. Any other thing from the codomain that does not meet that requirement will not be considered for mapping. So if you look at that function there, we can now put in the range. As pointed out, range would be those elements from the codomain that are mapped onto elements from the domain. So we now have our arrow diagram just connecting the range. Again, as you can clearly see, elements from the domain are mapped onto elements from the codomain range by the use of arrows. Hence, these are called arrow diagrams. If you find this video useful and interesting, please like and share. That is, like and share. You may also consider subscribing to this channel. Okay, example 3a, we are still on arrow diagrams, and by now I think you are getting tired of that, so this may be the last one. We have seen this before. You have a domain, let's call it X, with these elements. And you have a codomain, let's call it Y, with these elements. If we map 1 onto 1, and then 2 onto 4, 3 onto 9, and then 4 onto 16. As you can clearly see, elements from the domain X are mapped onto elements from the codomain Y by the use of arrows. Hence, these are called arrow diagrams. And the relation is y is equal to x squared. That is why we are not using these other elements from the codomain. And as I said, that should suffice for arrow diagrams.